like I should feel like I should feel like I should feel like I should go. Go.
The story begins with a high school girl talking to someone. She couldn't believe it when he said, "If you don't lend me money, our date won't happen." He added, "If you're reasonable and willing to play with me, that'd be fine too, but you'd have to pay for the love hotel." Because of this, the girl suddenly kicked him in the face. Although startled, the boy managed to dodge. The girl, seething with anger, tried to punch him, but he stopped her and grabbed her left hand. The boy kicked her in the chest, causing her to fall to the ground. "Get over yourself," he snapped. "I'm done messing with you. You've got no money and you're not worth it. I don't care anymore." The girl, still on the ground, knelt and muttered bitterly, "It's not funny, you idiot. Fish brain, squid, octopus." In class, when her classmate heard the story, she couldn't help but laugh. "What you did was hilarious. Calling him seafood names? That's not bad-mouthing." But the girl, with tears streaming down her face, wailed, "You should be comforting me instead. He was my first boyfriend." Her friend sighed and replied, "I warned you not to get involved with that guy. Was there even one good thing about him?" To this, the girl answered, "He looked like Ken Takakura." Her friends, now exasperated, groaned, "Not this again. You keep saying that, and it's making us sick." The girl, indignant, stood up. "What's wrong with that? I like masculine and tough men like Ken Takakura." A flash of her crush's face, Kin, appeared in her mind, along with his line from a Nippon life insurance commercial from the 80s. Her friends dismissed her dreaminess. "Men like that? They're extinct." While walking, the girl noticed a classroom where a nerdy schoolboy was being bullied. Objects were being pelted at him as he sat at his desk trying to read. The boy flinched as someone shouted, "Don't look at us! You're creeping us out!" The girl became visibly concerned when she noticed one boy ready to throw a paper with a magnet hidden inside. Before he could, she stormed in, sat down in front of the nerdy boy, and glared at them. "Lame," she said with disdain. The bullies hesitated and backed off. She turned to the nerdy boy. "What are you reading?" He stammered, unable to respond properly, still stunned by her action. As she left the classroom, she muttered to herself, "Is the world really full of scumbags?" Later in the hallway, the nerdy boy chased after her, calling out, "Momo Ayase!" She turned, surprised. "I know what you're into." Momo frowned, irritated. "How many times are you going to repeat that?" He replied, "There's only one reason you'd approach someone like me." Momo shot back, "You've got the wrong idea. I wasn't trying to be your friend. Forget what happened earlier." But he held out his book, pointing at it with conviction. "President Obama went to Mars through Project Pegasus." Momo blinked, confused. "What are you even talking about?" He added. "Don't you care about the paranormal?" Momo snapped, "No! I don't believe in UFOs or aliens. They're called UAPs now. Unidentified aerial phenomena. Even the military acknowledges them. Space war is real." Momo rubbed her temples in frustration. "Can I leave now?" Finally, Momo sighed. "I didn't mean to go off on you. I've been going through a lot." The nerdy boy fell silent, his back turned, clearly hurt by her earlier words. She softened, picked up his book, and handed it back to him. Momo said she didn't believe in aliens, but she did believe in spirits. The nerdy boy suddenly laughed, his tone incredulous and teasing. "There's no such thing as spirits," he claimed. Momo was stunned, her voice rising with irritation. "Excuse me? I went along with your nonsense earlier, and now you're trying to silence me? Don't belittle the paranormal." Her tone turned proud and firm. "For your information, my grandmother is a spirit medium." The nerdy boy chuckled, a mix of disbelief and amusement. "Seriously? A spirit medium?" Momo, growing more frustrated, countered, "Have you ever seen an exorcism? It's terrifying. Those possessed go wild and have fits." The nerdy boy adjusted his glasses, his voice calm and logical. "Fits happen with illnesses too. That's not proof that spirits exist." Momo, now visibly irritated, stepped closer and asked pointedly, "Has an alien ever offered you a ride in a UFO?" The nerdy boy hesitated, his voice faltering. That's different. Your argument is all over the place." His tone turned sharper. "Don't be an idiot." Momo's friends observed the scene from a distance, whispering among themselves. "Looks like Momo's given up on the Ken Takakura type and gone for the geek type instead," one said with a smirk. "Maybe she doesn't care about her looks anymore," another added with a shrug. Momo ignored them, her voice steady but challenging. "If I prove spirits are real, you'll have to be my gopher. Deal?" The nerdy boy nodded confidently. And if I show you UFOs or UAPs, you'll have to be mine. That night, Momo stood outside a decrepit, abandoned hospital, her voice trembling slightly as she spoke into her phone. What is this place? It's creepy, the nerdy boy replied matter-of-factly. It's Nagi Hospital, a UFO hotspot. If you call for a UFO from the roof, they'll abduct you. Momo's voice rose in alarm. Abduct me? What do you mean? The nerdy boy explained with an unsettling calmness. They'll kidnap you and use you for human experimentation. Momo gasped, her tone incredulous. Have you been experimented on? The nerdy boy's response was oddly detached. Possibly. Most abductees have their memories erased. Momo pressed further. Wait, have you ever even seen a UFO? The nerdy boy deflected. Have you heard of regressive hypnosis? Momo snapped impatiently. Stop dodging. Answer me, the nerdy boy responded coolly. Whether I've seen one or not doesn't matter. What matters is whether my argument holds up. Momo, exasperated, cut him off. Ugh, just tell me how it's going on your end. The nerdy boy, now at a dark tunnel marked with a no-entry sign, replied nervously. I'm here at the haunted tunnel. I'll prove there are no ghosts. Momo's tone turned teasing. Are you scared? You know you're guaranteed to see a ghost there. It's famous online. The nerdy boy, now visibly panicking, started singing loudly to calm himself. Momo chuckled, her voice mischievous. Did you know? Based on my research, being loud actually attracts spirits the most. The nerdy boy, still singing, paused and asked in frustration, Why do you always trust the internet? He then asked, his tone probing, Have you even seen a spirit? Momo's voice grew softer. No, I haven't. The nerdy boy's tone turned incredulous. Wait, what? You believe in spirits, but you've never seen one? Momo's voice became defensive, tinged with guilt. I just believe in them, okay? The nerdy boy pressed on. That's bizarre. You boast about spirits but haven't even seen one? Momo sighed and spoke with sincerity. My grandmother was a spirit medium, and she raised me. I don't have parents. She was everything to me. The nerdy boy fell silent, his voice quieter when he finally spoke. I see, Momo continued, her tone thoughtful. My family was weird. Whenever I went out, I had to perform a ritual for good luck. My classmates laughed at me and it was humiliating. But if I didn't do it, my grandmother would get upset and I'd feel awful. Her voice turned bitter as she recalled a painful memory. The worst was when my crush laughed at me because of the ritual. I hated my grandmother for it. I said terrible things to her. We didn't talk for years and I stopped doing the rituals. But then, when people laughed at my family, I got mad. I realized I wasn't upset because my crush didn't like me. I was upset because he laughed at my grandmother. Momo's voice became filled with emotion. My grandmother and her job as a spirit medium were special. I love that about her. I've never seen a ghost, and I don't know if her abilities were real, but she believed in me. She took care of me. That's why I believe in spirits. The nerdy boy remained quiet, then finally spoke in a hesitant voice. Why do you believe in aliens? Momo's voice sharpened. You don't even have a reason for it? The nerdy boy replied softly, almost defensively. Do you need a reason to like something? Momo answered that it seemed it wasn't necessary after all. She then commented that, while on the phone, the nerdy boy, whom she called a cult, spoke quickly. A cult couldn't believe this and replied, Maybe it's because you're easy to talk to. While on the phone, an old person suddenly appeared in front of a cult. She said, I'll let you suck my watermelon if you let me gobble your banana. Momo grew nervous on the other end of the line, her voice rising in concern. A cult? What's going on? A cult screamed, Ghost! On the phone, Momo told him firmly, No matter what happens, don't run. But it was too late. Overcome with fear, a cult bolted. While running, he kept muttering to himself in disbelief. It's just an old woman. Just an old woman. He repeated this over and over, trying to convince himself. Finally, he got out of the tunnel, gasping for breath. Momo scolded him through the phone. What you did was dangerous. Don't you know how risky it is to flee from a ghost? A cult, still shaken, ignored her warning and quickly hopped onto his bike. Maybe I misunderstood. It was probably just a chance encounter with a perverted old person. Momo shouted in alarm, Don't let the ghost overtake you. If you lose the race against the turbo granny, she'll put a curse on you. Her voice grew more frantic when a cult stopped responding. A cult? Can you hear me? Are you okay? There was no answer. Panic spread across Momo's face as she muttered, I can't believe this. Determined, she ran toward the tunnel to help him. I'm on my way. Wait there. Suddenly, Momo stopped dead in her tracks. Three identical figures blocked her path. They all looked the same, and Momo froze, her voice trembling. What? What are you? Stop! Sweating profusely, Momo turned and ran, but the strange figures gave chase. They pursued her into the abandoned hospital, quickly catching up. They grabbed her tightly, ripping at her clothes. Momo struggled, screaming as they tore her school uniform. She found herself in her undergarments, her hands and feet locked to a bizarre, bed-like structure. Momo cried out, "What's happening?" Suddenly, a man appeared and greeted her with an unsettling smile. "Greetings, woman person," he introduced himself. "We are Serpoan from the planet Serpo." Momo gasped in disbelief. "You're aliens?" One of them replied in a calm voice. "Do not be afraid, we are friendly." Momo retorted angrily. "Friendly? Friendly people don't undress women," she demanded. "Where are my clothes?" They responded, "Handled with care." But when Momo glanced at the shredded remains, she seethed. "Handled with care? You destroyed them. You'd better pay for them." She added, "And let me go. I want to leave." One of the Serpoan explained, "Our species is all male, and we reproduce through cloning. But cloning has caused stagnation in evolution. Conflict, emotion, happiness, anger, grief, and pleasure have disappeared. To regain our reproductive functions, we need the banana organs of your kind." Momo's eyes widened in shock. "My what?" The alien showed his robotic banana and declared, "We will now proceed." Momo struggled fiercely and screamed, "Are you crazy? I might have dated dirtbags before, but I've kept myself pure. I've been saving myself for my Ken Takakura." Tears streamed down her face as she pleaded, "I won't let aliens take that from me." The alien ignored her protests and held her face gently. "To awaken your desire, we will control your brainwaves using psychokinesis." They began their process and one asked, "Do you feel your body getting warmer?" Momo resisted, her voice filled with desperation. "No, this isn't happening," she cried out. "Ken Takakura!" The aliens paused, impressed by her defiance. "Your force of will is remarkable." One of them positioned himself above her, declaring, "We will begin now." Momo sobbed, "Please stop." Suddenly, her cell phone rang nearby. The sound startled the aliens. One exclaimed, "Bad timing." From the phone emerged a strange creature that lunged at Serpoan, biting off his banana and hurling it into the wall. The strange creature tumbled dramatically and then apologized to Momo. "Sorry I'm late. Spirits are real." It was a cult, now possessed by the Turbo Granny. His body contorted into a spider-walk position as he spoke to her. Momo, relieved and astonished, called out, "A cult! You're here!" A cult, now half himself and half Turbo Granny, asked for her help. "I can't control myself." Meanwhile, the aliens stared at the scene in disbelief. How did this creature infiltrate through a smartphone? That technology isn't available to us. A cult, still possessed, rasped, "Let me gobble your banana!" Momo shouted, "A cult! Get a hold of yourself." The Serpoan leader's head spun as he barked, "Leave at once, intruder, or give us your banana organ." The alien's form morphed grotesquely, and Momo cried out in disgust, "Gross!" The Turbo Granny in a cult's body ran up the walls, dodging the alien's attacks with incredible speed. One of the aliens muttered, "It's too fast. We can't use psychokinesis on it." The Turbo Granny bit off another alien's banana, leaving him incapacitated. One alien, clutching the remnants of his banana, wailed, "Our bananas are precious. You banana thief!" The leader attempted to retaliate with an alien weapon, but the Turbo Granny flung him into a wall with incredible force. Momo watched in horror as a cult's body collided with the wall. She screamed, "A cult! Are you okay?" A cult suddenly returned to himself. Serpoan said they had never encountered such a physically aggressive person before. He explained that, until now, they had always established friendly relations with humankind, pleading, "Please just give us your banana organs." A cult replied softly, "If it were just me, you could take whatever you wanted." He admitted, his voice heavy with emotion, "All my life, all I ever wanted was to meet an alien. I thought maybe they'd be my friends since I had none." Momo was surprised by his words. A cult continued, his voice breaking, "Since elementary school, I've looked at the sky, wishing for UFOs to come, but they never did. No matter how many times I called, they never showed up. People bullied me, and even aliens ignored me. No one ever acknowledged my existence." Tears filled his eyes as he added, "But you, Momo, you helped me against my bully." He turned toward the aliens, his voice growing fierce. "That's why I won't let you touch her. If you do, you won't escape from me." Momo didn't expect such words from him. A cult's expression hardened as his body started to change. I'll even become a monster if it's for her sake, Momo cheered him on. Show them your manliness. However, before he could act, the alien used his advanced form to knock a cult into the wall again. A cult groaned, regaining his senses, and muttered, I guess I can't fight them after all. Momo exclaimed in disbelief. You're giving up already? An alien scoffed. A barbaric person like you could never be our friend. Besides, we prefer human females over males. The alien's robotic banana rose again, his voice unsettling. Let's continue reawakening her desires. Momo tried her best to resist their psychokinesis. She closed her eyes, her mind flashing back to her grandmother's teachings. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. If you release your chai, you won't get sick or have accidents. No evil will come near you. She remembered her grandmother showing her how to focus her energy below her belly and visualize it flowing out from the top of her head. But younger Momo had stormed out in embarrassment, shouting, I'll never do that again. I hate you, Grandma. Back in the present, Momo whispered to herself, I'm sorry, Grandma. I was just so embarrassed back then. Her eyes closed tightly as she focused, channeling her energy as her grandmother had taught her. Suddenly, with a surge of power, she broke free from the machine restraining her. Everyone was stunned, including Momo herself. A cult gasped, Momo, you have a paranormal ability? Momo replied, still in disbelief. I guess I do. The alien stared at her in shock. She resisted my psychokinesis? How? He theorized. Could I have overstimulated her brain waves and accidentally opened her chakra? Momo, now realizing the truth, whispered through her tears, Grandma, you were a real spirit medium. Thank you. Her resolve strengthened. She turned to the aliens. Now I'll send you scumbags flying into next year. With a flying kick, Momo sent one alien crashing through the walls of the UFO, causing it to tremble. She suddenly realized they had been inside the UFO all along. This is a UFO? She turned to a cult. Are you okay? We need to get out of here. Before he could respond, a cult suddenly opened his mouth and bit Momo. She yelped, Hey, what are you doing? Let go, you idiot. She pushed him with her hand and shouted, Control yourself. Focusing her energy once more, she used her power to separate the Turbo Granny spirit from a cult's body. A cult collapsed onto the floor, gasping for air, while Momo stood over him. The old woman's spirit glared at them, muttering, So, you've separated me, huh? But I still have his banana. The curse will stay on his body as long as I hold on to it. Momo demanded, Give it back. The Turbo Granny smirked. If you want it, come to the tunnel. This place is too far for me to bother with you. As she slowly faded away, she added mockingly, Garish little brat. Momo retorted, Who are you calling garish, you old hag? Suddenly, a loud explosion rocked the UFO. Momo panicked. We need to get out of here or we'll die. She shook a cult awake and yelled, Come on, we have to run. The two barely escaped as the UFO exploded and crashed onto the hospital rooftop. Breathing heavily, they stumbled away. That was the worst, Momo exclaimed. She admitted with a sigh, I guess I believe in aliens now. They abducted me after all. A cult, still catching his breath, replied, And I believe in spirits. One cursed me. Momo glanced at him and asked, So, what now? A cult shrugged. Good question. Momo extended her hand toward him. I'll keep a lid on your curse for now, but you'll go berserk again if I don't control it. A cult apologized softly. Sorry, Momo. It's all my fault. Momo grumbled. I lost my uniform, my wallet, my phone, everything. That's why I'm stuck wearing your uniform. A cult thought for a moment and then asked, What do we do about the curse? Momo replied, There's only one thing to do. We need to take down the Turbo Granny. She's the cause of all of this. A cult nodded. I see. Well, I'll head home first. Momo was surprised by this. A cult took off his shirt and pants, handing them to her. Wear these and go home, he said firmly. Momo replied, her tone insistent. If I'm not with you, you'll definitely go berserk again. A cult looked away, his voice heavy with guilt. Everything that happened was my fault. I don't want you involved anymore. I'll gather my courage and go to the tunnel. I'll figure it out somehow. He started to walk away, leaving Momo standing there. She watched him go, her voice tinged with both frustration and concern. Why isn't he asking me to come with him? After everything that's happened, I can't just let him leave like this. If I'm not there, he'll surely die. She suggested strongly. It's better if we work together. A cult scratched his head, hesitant, before asking awkwardly, Are you sure? He seemed embarrassed, But before he could say more, Momo interrupted him. Put your clothes back on, and let's go. Occult apologized, his voice soft. I'm really just an awkward person. Momo was surprised by his vulnerability. Occult handed her his clothes again, pleading, please, wear these. If you don't, I won't be able to talk to you properly. Momo's heart began to race at his words. She couldn't believe what she was feeling. Trying to dismiss the moment, she muttered, it's nothing. I just didn't expect him to say a famous line from Ken Takakura. That's all. She calmed herself down and suddenly asked, what's your name again? I'm not great at remembering names. Occult scratched his head and answered, Ken Takakura. Momo froze in shock.
Feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should, feel like I should go. Go.